Well, welcome to the 700 Club. For today's top headlines, let's go over to the CBN News Desk.
Gordon, investigators are looking into the motives behind two attacks in a bloody weekend for people of faith in Texas and New York. 3 people were killed, including the gunman, when he opened fire during a church service near Fort Worth. And just outside New York City, 5 people were stabbed during a Hanukkah celebration, an attack that came amid an increasing tide of anti-Semitic assaults in recent weeks in the New York, New Jersey region. Gary Lane has the story.
Sunday church service at the West Freeway Church of Christ near Fort Worth, Texas. A live stream camera shows a man wearing a large coat sitting in the back of the sanctuary. Suddenly, as worshipers begin taking communion, he pulls out a shotgun and opens fire. Panic ensues with people ducking for cover. Several church members, part of a security team, pull their guns and fire back, striking the gunman. Police say it was all over within 6 seconds. The armed parishioners made the difference.
The citizens who were inside that church undoubtedly saved 242 other parishioners.
The gunman killed 2 people before the parishioners shot him. 3 others were injured. Police are investigating in hopes of determining a motive for the church attack.
And it was a sad thing that he had to come into the congregation and hurt people, and it's a sad thing that we had to hurt him.
And north of New York City, police have a suspect in custody after a stabbing incident late Saturday evening in Rockland County. What should have been a joyous holiday occasion turned into tragedy for some Hasidic Jews gathered for a Hanukkah dinner. They were at the home of their rabbi when a man entered wielding a machete. Witness Joseph Gluck.
He took out his knife sword from a holder and started hitting people back and forth. He didn't say anything. First he went into the dining room and hit a few people there. And then he went to the kitchen, he hit one guy there, and then he came back to the dining room. He screamed after me when they came out here. He screamed after me, "Hey you, I'll get you."
5 people were injured in the attack. Gluck wrote down the license plate number of the suspect's car and passed it on to the police. They apprehended the alleged attacker. The car was found 30 miles away in New York City. The suspect reportedly suffers from mental illness, and his family believes that was why he launched his assault, not out of hatred for Jewish people. Still, the attack has left the Jewish community on edge.
We were scared, but we were not surprised, because this is not the first incident in New York.
The FBI is investigating 9 possible cases of anti-Semitic violence in the region within just the last few weeks. They include this incident, where a group of teens knocked a Jewish man to the ground. And earlier this month, 6 people were left dead during a mass shooting at a kosher market in northern New Jersey.
Why is this happening? And that's a question lingering in everyone's mind.
Gary Lane, CBN News.
With mass shootings and bomb plots, not only at malls and movie theaters, but also in America's churches, how will this change the way we worship? And what can churches do to protect their congregations? Chuck Holton turned to security experts for the answers.
June 19th, 2019. A Syrian refugee was arrested in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for plotting to blow up a local church. His intent was to inspire other church attacks in the name of ISIS. Former FBI agent Mark Lundgren warns that an attack like this could have far-reaching consequences.
If 2 or 3 successful attacks on churches occur, what we're going to see is a conversation over the dinner table on Saturday night. Honey, should we take the kids to church tomorrow, or should we just live stream this? And if you don't think that's going to impact the very ministry model of every church in America, you probably just haven't thought about it.
Many churches these days have some sort of security team, but Lundgren is working to help these teams network with those from other churches by starting the Secure Church Network, an association of church safety and security leaders who meet to share tips and tactics for keeping their congregations safe.
So what we want to do is create an environment where worry-free worship can occur.
At a recent Secure Church event near Chicago, several hundred attendees got a chance to do scenario-based training aimed at approaching security as a ministry. Former Secret Service agent Tim Miller led the training.
So church security is unique because the skills we need week after week are largely not firearm skills. They're skills like talking people down. We call it de-escalation. They're skills like dealing with mentally ill people. They're skills like understanding that people come into the church with a variety of addictions. And how we respond to them really matters, because on the one hand, we want hurting people to come, but on the other hand, we want to keep the congregation safe.
You know, you're more likely to be struck by lightning than you are to be a victim of a mass shooter attack in a church. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be training and prepared for it. More likely, you're going to have a medical emergency or maybe a mentally ill person come into your church, and those kinds of things need to be prepared for as well. And that's why training like this is so important.
Let's pray that he is with us today.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
I think you just have to watch the news today, and you can tell that things are changing. There's just an expansion of these radical ideologies, mental health struggles, even anger against people of faith. And because the conditions are changing, I think leaders need to be more thoughtful than ever about how they really shepherd people, how we protect the flock that's under our care, and whether that means imposing new kinds of security protocols to help protect folks against bad actors, or whether it's just thinking through more carefully the practices by which we're going to be ready to give medical aid in a time of emergency. It feels like we have a responsibility that is even more intense than ever before.
What's the problem, ma'am?
The training included some unique tools, such as a high-tech virtual trainer that lets attendees experience dozens of different scenarios in a short period of time. It's the same method used by law enforcement.
Having those conversations ahead of time, doing some drilling. I know that our officers will come through here off hours, so that way they can learn the layout much better and even do some training.
We want them ministry-minded, but also highly skilled. Now, church security is different because, as you know, churches are welcoming, inviting places, and security tends to keep people away. So it's important that we train church security folks with the mindset of ministry.
I just don't know any church leader that wants their gatherings to start to feel like some kind of an armed encampment. But the good news, it seems to me, is that there are practical ways of increasing security in the life of a religious community or church without losing that sense that it is still a very warm and welcoming place.
Participants say they get a lot out of working together with other churches.
So we're part of Secure Church Chicago, and we attend these on a regular basis. They've been very impactful in helping us develop a plan and a strategy.
This is my second time attending a training here with Secure Church. So it was really informative. Even just making connections and networking with other churches was also a benefit to being here. But just having a facility to be able to do scenario-based training was the real advantage for us.
In Chicago, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
Overseas, the U.S. carried out military strikes Sunday on 5 targets of a militia in Iraq and Syria. The militia is backed by Iran. The U.S. blamed the militia for launching a rocket attack Friday on a military compound that killed an American contractor. The militia says 25 are dead. Defense Secretary Mark Esper said the strikes were successful, and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said the militia's attacks had been going on for weeks.
What we did was take a decisive response that makes clear what President Trump has said for months and months and months, which is that we will not stand for the Islamic Republic of Iran to take actions that put American men and women in jeopardy.
We will take additional actions as necessary to ensure that we act in our own self-defense and we deter further bad behavior from militia groups or from Iran. Thank you.
Esper and Pompeo flew to Palm Beach after the strikes to brief President Trump. And those are today's top stories from CBN News.